In a small but lively town, Arjun, a young lecturer, was rushing to his friend's wedding. Or so he thought. His best friends, Vicky and Suresh, had tricked him. The moment he arrived, they pushed him onto the wedding stage and said, "You have no choice. Marry this girl right now." The temple priest started chanting mantras. Arjun was shocked, confused, and panicked. What is happening? Who is the bride? Why are my friends forcing me? Before he could protest, a soft hand touched his. The bride. She was wearing a red silk saree, her face covered by a long veil. Who is she? Arjun wondered. But before he could ask, his friends whispered, "Bro, just trust us. This is your fate." With no time to think, Arjun took the sacred Mongol sutra, Thali, and tied it around her neck. The moment he did, his life changed forever. After the wedding, Arjun finally got a proper look at his wife. She was stunning. Beautiful. Elegant. But her face had no emotion. She didn't cry. She didn't look excited. She was calm, almost too calm. Her name? Onanya. Arjun, why did you agree to this wedding? Onanya, calmly, it doesn't matter now. We are married. He expected her to argue. Cry. Complain. But she was completely silent. His mind was filled with questions. Who is she? Why was she forced into this marriage? Why is she so quiet? Little did he know. Onanya was hiding a massive secret. Arjun's home was in a remote village, far from the city. When they arrived, Onanya saw a tiny house with just 4 rooms. No fridge. No washing machine. No separate kitchen. Arjun's 2 married sisters and their kids lived there too. Her expensive silk saree stood out in the village atmosphere. Her diamond bangles shined in the sunlight. But the biggest shock? Arjun's family was extremely poor. His salary was the only source of income. He supported his sisters, their kids, and his aging parents. Onanya looked around. She didn't complain. She didn't cry. She just stood there, watching everything. Can a girl like her live in a house like this? Arjun wondered. That night, as they sat for dinner, his sisters and their kids ate first. Arjun's mother served him next. Finally, Onanya was given food. She didn't eat. She just stared at her plate. Arjun leaned in and asked, "What's wrong?" She looked at him for a moment, and then simply said, "Nothing. I'm just not used to this." Days passed. Onanya slowly adjusted to village life. She spent time with Arjun's sisters and their children. She started helping with household chores. But there was one thing she never did. She never spoke properly to Arjun. Why? Does she hate me? Arjun wondered. Then, one day, everything changed. A black luxury car entered the village. Automobile dash symbol. Arjun's family watched in confusion as a group of men in suits stepped out. They rushed towards Onanya and handed her some documents. "Madam, we need your approval on the company's latest project." Arjun froze. His sisters froze.
His mother's hands shook as she dropped the plate she was holding. "Madam?" The entire village stood in silence. Arjun turned to Ananya and asked, Who are you?" Ananya sighed. She pulled out her phone and opened a website. She showed it to Arjun. It was a Forbes article. Moneybag Meet Ananya, the young billionaire who owns multiple companies. Arjun felt his heart stop. His wife wasn't just rich. She was the owner of the college he worked at. She had software companies with international branches. She owned supermarkets, fashion brands, and real estate businesses. His entire world collapsed. He wasn't married to an ordinary girl. He was married to one of the richest women in the country. Arjun's family felt guilty. They had treated Ananya like a normal village girl. But Ananya never showed her ego. She adjusted to their simple life. She cooked. She cleaned. She laughed with his sisters. Slowly, Arjun started admiring her. For the first time, he realized he was falling in love with her. But fate had other plans. One day, a small misunderstanding happened. A silly fight. A heated argument. Ananya packed her bags and left. She went back to the city. Arjun felt his heart break. He wanted to bring her back. But his pride held him back. Weeks passed. One day, Arjun's family decided, let's bring her back. They traveled to her city home. When they arrived, they were shocked beyond belief. They thought they were going to her parents' house. But no. It was her house. A massive villa with a private swimming pool, security guards, and a luxury car collection. His mother whispered, "This is her house." Arjun swallowed hard. His simple wife. The one who ate from the same plate as them. The one who helped with housework. She was the queen of this empire. Arjun finally understood her value. When he apologized, Ananya simply smiled and said, "Let's go home." She returned to the village. Months later, she had an idea. Instead of taking Arjun to the city, she built a huge bungalow in his village. Arjun got to stay with his family. Ananya got a luxurious home. They had two beautiful kids. And just like that, their love story became unforgettable. The grand villa stood before them, taller than anything they had ever seen. Arjun's family members stood with their mouths open as they stepped onto the marble floors. The chandeliers sparkled like stars. The air smelled of luxury and power. Every corner of the house screamed richness. Arjun's mother, "This house is not your father's." Ananya calmly, "No, Amma. This house is mine." Arjun clenched his fists. His heart pounded. She built all this on her own. Without anyone's help. For the first time in his life, he felt truly small. That night, Arjun found Ananya standing alone in her massive balcony, staring at the city lights. She was dressed in a simple sari, without makeup, looking just like the village girl she had become in the past few months. But tonight, she was back in her real world. Arjun walked up to her, hesitant. "Arjun, why didn't you ever tell me the truth?" Ananya, softly, "Would it have changed anything?" Arjun had no answer. Ananya turned to him, her eyes glistening with pain. "Do you know how many people pretended to love me because of my money? Do you know how many men wanted to marry me just for my wealth?" She took a deep breath, then continued. "For once, I wanted someone who didn't care about my money. That's why I agreed to marry you blindly. But after coming to your home, I realized you weren't just a simple man." She wiped her tears. "You are a man who loves his family more than himself. A man who would rather suffer than let his loved ones starve. A man who is too proud to take help from his own wife." Arjun lowered his head. For the first time, he truly understood why she never showed her identity. He had assumed she was arrogant. He had assumed she was hiding something. But in reality, she was just protecting her heart. That night, he made a promise to himself. He wouldn't let her go. The next morning, Ananya was ready to leave. She called her driver and asked him to drop Arjun's family back to the village. But before she could step inside the car, Arjun grabbed her wrist. "Arjun, you are coming with us." Ananya's eyes widened. His family looked shocked. "Ananya, but this is my house." Arjun firmly, "No, Ananya. Our house is back there in the village. With our family." She searched his face for any sign of hesitation. For the first time, there was none. A slow smile formed on her lips. "Okay, Arjun. Let's go home." Back in the village, life continued as usual. Ananya adjusted back into her simple life, but with one small difference. She began making secret plans. One evening, as Arjun returned from work, he saw construction workers near their home. Confused, he walked inside, only to find Ananya sitting with an architect. "Arjun, what's happening?" Ananya, smiling, "We're building a new home." Arjun's mother's eyes widened. "Arjun, Ananya. I told you, I won't leave this village." "Ananya, I know, Arjun. That's why I'm not asking you to move." She pointed at a huge blueprint on the table. A new bungalow right in the same village. Enough rooms for everyone. A spacious kitchen, a garden, and a playground for the kids. All modern facilities without leaving the village. Arjun stared at her, speechless. Ananya took his hand and whispered, "I don't need a city to be happy. I just need you. I just need our family." For the first time, Arjun hugged her tightly. He had never expressed love openly before. But today, he knew. He had married the best woman in the world. Months later, the new house was completed. Ananya and Arjun moved in with the entire family. Ananya managed her business from the village. She built a small IT company in the town, creating jobs for the locals. Arjun continued teaching at the college, but now as a respected man. And the biggest blessing? Ananya became pregnant. One night, as they sat together on the terrace, she placed his hand on her stomach and whispered, "Our baby will grow up here, in this village, surrounded by love." Arjun smiled. "And one day, our child will know the story of how his father married a simple girl who turned out to be his biggest blessing." The end.